Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into a really interesting story from a Vietnamese YouTube channel called Trait Nam VOV,
Yeah, the story itself is titled Trait Heng Quin Kanguk. Ka Gao Tao Tin Tin Vung Trom Mayanat.
which roughly translated means something like amazing story you'll listen to and forget to sleep, teacher thones, multiple affairs, the latest secret love story. Quite a title.
It is, and look, we should probably address that title right away
Yeah.
because, well, it sounds, well, pretty
Very
sensational.
scandalous, maybe.
Right, but the actual story, what we see unfolding in the narrative, it's much more nuanced. It's really an exploration of these evolving emotions, complex relationships.
Okay, so that's our mission today then, to kind of get into the heart of that story beyond the clickbaity title.
Exactly. We're going to trace this developing connection between Tao, who's a young teacher, and this boy she ends up taking into her home.
And we'll be looking at the subtle shifts and how they relate to each other and really trying to understand Phone's internal struggles as their lives get tangled up.
And our source material here is transcript excerpts from the spoken narrative on YouTube. So it gives us a pretty direct window into how the story is told.
Right. So where does it all begin? What's the setup?
Okay, so the initial situation is Thone, young teacher, living alone, and for about a week, she's been feeling like she's being watched.
Creepy.
Yeah. Then she actually notices a boy who seems to be following her. He's shy at first, denies it, but then he leaves her a note.
Ah, the note. What does it say?
Just 3 words, really powerful ones. M. Diung Ko, which means, I love you, miss.
Wow. Okay, that's direct. But what struck me reading the transcript was her awareness before the note, feeling watched for a whole week.
Right. And the description of that gaze, bold and deep, like a man's look for a beautiful woman, that's quite specific.
It suggests she was already kind of aware of how she might be perceived, maybe a little uneasy.
I think so. And this feeling, this awareness, it had already made her more reserved. She knows how gossip works in a small town, especially for a teacher.
Yeah, the potential damage to her reputation.
Exactly. So she's careful. Maintains this professional distance with students not too strict, not too lenient, trying very hard to avoid any hint of suspicion, particularly with the boys.
It really shows how, in some communities, just the perception of something can be damaging, right? Even if
Huh.
nothing's actually happened.
Absolutely. The perception is reality sometimes.
Right.
So into this careful world steps this boy.
And his shyness, his fear of being caught, actually makes her notice him more.
Kind of ironic, isn't it? And then she gets that note, Mbun Ko, and it just floors her.
Yeah.
Surprise, definitely, but also, confusion. What does this even mean?
And the note seems to unlock something in her, doesn't it? She starts thinking about her past.
Yeah, it triggers these reflections. Her old relationship, the one that ended because her ex was too impulsive.
She values everything in moderation, the transcript says, and she hates violence. So this past experience really shaped her.
Definitely. It gives us insight into what she wants, or maybe what she's trying to avoid. Chaos, intensity. She seeks stability.
And we find out she moved to this area specifically to escape that past love and maybe unwanted attention in general, to just focus on her students.
But, the story's quick to point out she's still young. Those natural feelings, desires, they don't just vanish. She still remembers intimate moments.
It's interesting how mundane things can trigger these memories too, like the boy looking at her lingerie drying.
Right. That specific detail. It reminds her of her ex's gaze, how she initially liked his restraint, but later his other impulsive acts caused the breakup.
It feels like she's processing the complexities of men's emotions, maybe. Control versus lack of control.
Yeah, based on her own lived experience. And she seems aware of, let's say, the social dynamics too. Women's attractiveness, men having improper thoughts. She's navigating all this.
Which leads to this really complicated reaction to the boy himself. There's pity, but also these disturbing, evil thoughts she has.
It seems like a defense mechanism, doesn't it? Like she's
Yeah.
trying to suppress her own stirring emotions by having these fleeting negative thoughts about him. It's a sign of real internal conflict.
She's fighting against feelings she thought were buried or under control.
Totally. So this bond, or potential bond, starts forming. But right away, things get complicated inside Toe's head.
Despite trying so hard to stay reserved, she feels overwhelmed by these desires that seem to come out of nowhere after the note.
Yeah, the transcript mentions intense physical reactions, this almost desperate urge to find the boy again. It's like her body is betraying her careful intentions.
And that night is rough for her. Restless mind racing, physical discomfort, exhaustion.
It's like a sudden reawakening of something dormant in her. And the narrative points out her sort of naivety about intimacy, her lack of experience through these internal questions she has.
Which just highlights the intensity of what she's feeling now, maybe because it is unfamiliar territory for her.
Could be. And the next morning, she literally looks in the mirror and is shocked by her appearance. That internal struggle took a physical toll.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? How this boy's attention has just completely disrupted her quiet, controlled life.
Definitely. So she's in this state of inner turmoil, and then the boy reappears the next day.
Right, he's waiting for her on her way to the market, and he looks worried.
And he sees she's unsteady, maybe from lack of sleep. He reaches out, touches her, and the story notes his touch feels familiar, like in her dream.
Whoa, okay, so the lines between her thoughts and reality are starting to blur a bit.
Seems like it. And his reason for waiting. So innocent. He was just excited she'd sort of invited him to visit.
But Them immediately thinks about appearances, right? Her living alone, him being a boy, the potential for gossip. She hesitates.
Understandably. She asks him about it, voices her concerns.
And his reaction is quite sad. He seems genuinely hurt.
Yeah, he gets sad, says he wishes she saw him like her child, apologizes, even says he'll stay away if he's bothering her. It shows how much he needs connection.
That must hit Thao hard. She starts wondering about his family, his mother.
And then he drops the bombshell. He's no one. He's an orphan.
Oh, okay, that changes everything.
Completely. It shifts the whole dynamic. Suddenly, it's not just about awkwardness or potential impropriety. There's real vulnerability, real need here.
Thao's shock is palpable in the text. She realizes the depth of it all.
Her concerns about her job and reputation are still there, obviously, but now they're weighed against this boy's desperate situation.
So her solution is tentative. An invitation for a meal at her place. Postponing the big decision.
Exactly. It reflects her internal struggle perfectly. She needs time.
But for the boy, even that small gesture is huge. He's overjoyed, already imagining a new life.
You see it on their walk to the market, him noticing her beauty, wanting to help carry things, just basking in the attention.
And once they get to her house, he's fascinated by everything. Her clothes, the scent. He wants to tidy up.
It's this powerful desire to belong, to contribute, to be part of her space. Thone finds it amusing, corrects him gently. There's a hint of a maternal dynamic starting.
On the surface, at least. Then they share a meal. He's nervous.
She guides him through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells her his story. Tearfully explains being orphaned, how he started following her, just seeking some kind of connection.
That raw vulnerability, it seems to be the tipping point for Thon.
It does. She suddenly embraces him and then invites him to stay with her. A massive step.
You can imagine his reaction. Joyful tears, feeling safe, warm maybe for the first time in a long time.
But inside, Tom is still a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She feels those physical reactions again, the ones from the night before. She's still wondering, is this the right thing?
Yet she decides to, as the text says, nurture this flame of love for the child.
There's definitely some rationalization going on. She tries to frame it like he's a grandchild, telling herself affection is okay in that context.
But her mind is still racing. It hints that maybe she knows it's more complicated than that, deep down.
Possibly. Her relief when he just falls asleep on a chair seems genuine, though. She carefully makes him comfortable.
Watching him sleep peacefully. It must be such a contrast to her own recent turmoil.
And so begins their life together. He helps with chores, really eager to please. Her affection grows. They start to look like a little family unit.
Makeshift, maybe? He has nightmares. She comforts him. That seems to strengthen the bond, too, her protective side coming out.
Yeah, it builds that connection.
Yeah.
But just as things seem to settle a bit, awkwardness creeps back in.
The incident after his shower? He accidentally sees her naked?
Right. Huge embarrassment on both sides. Tammany tries to handle it with a gentle scolding, reestablish a boundary.
But it leaves this unspoken tension, doesn't it? Then starts feeling more uncomfortable, forgetful even, like something's unsettled her again.
And that discomfort spills out. She snaps at him when he's just trying to help.
It feels like she's annoyed at the situation, at her own complicated feelings, maybe as much as she is at him.
And the boy picks up on it. He gets quiet, withdrawn, starts avoiding her. She even hears him crying.
He senses he's upsetting her. which leads him to that difficult moment where he asks if he should leave.
That's the moment Thal's own attachment becomes clear, even to herself maybe. Her reaction is strong. She doesn't want him to go.
She tries to explain her moods, asks him to stay. It reveals how much she's come to rely on his presence,
Or
perhaps.
at least how much she cares. Their hug afterwards is described as awkward, though.
Yeah.
That uncertainty is still there.
And then you get these moments highlighting his growing maturity or maybe just his curiosity, asking about menstruation.
Yeah, innocent questions, but potentially
Yeah.
loaded in this context. It highlights the weird space they occupy between child caregiver and something else.
His compliments, too, about her beauty, her scent. It makes Thal uneasy.
She tries to brush it off. You're just a kid, focus on school. But he persists, even mentions remembering their earlier hug.
It suggests he is developing some kind of awareness, maybe an early crush.
That's certainly how Thale starts to perceive it. She realizes he's not just a little boy anymore. He's growing up, fast.
And that brings a whole new wave of anxiety for her. How does she handle this?
You see her contrasting how she treats her male students versus him. It's different now. She's more guarded around him.
Worrying about infatuation, being careful with her things. But then she has that moment of doubt.
Right, remembering her friend's story about her son and the lingerie. Was that just innocent curiosity? Is she maybe misinterpreting this boy's actions?
Yeah.
Projecting?
It shows her confusion, her trying to figure out his intentions, and maybe her own feelings, too.
Then there's that incident where he sleeps in the kitchen. She feels guilty, apologizes. It's still tense.
And then he says it again, flat out, I love you.
That really shocks her. She tries immediately to set boundaries, the age difference. She's like his mother or grandmother.
But his response is disarming. He says it's love from the heart, not physical. He even mentions wanting to comfort her during her nightmares, but holding back.
It shows the surprising depth of care, maybe emotional maturity beyond his years, or at least a very strong attachment.
Tao seems flustered, tries to end the conversation, slips up and says, we, showing how blurred the lines are in her own mind.
He lingers, crying quietly. She's torn between wanting to comfort him and fearing how it might look, what it might mean.
The tension keeps building. She hears him sighing late at night, asks a question that makes her uncomfortable again.
She can't deny it anymore. He's maturing. He's not just a naive child. She knows she needs to change how she interacts with him, keep a safer distance.
But it's hard. She's hyper aware of his glances, his reactions. She's losing sleep over it.
She tries to rationalize it's just curiosity, but deep down, she knows his feelings are likely developing, and her own are. Well, a mess.
Fear of judgment, memories of past hurt, it's all swirling around.
And yet, she also feels gratitude that he remains, generally, respectful. It just adds another layer of complexity to her feelings for him.
She's constantly debating with herself, watching him sleep peacefully while her own mind is just racing.
Then comes this moment of vulnerability. Tells asleep. Something happens, the transcript calls it a revealing moment, and the boy sees it.
The details aren't explicit, but his reaction is key. He tries to help her, innocently.
And Thawne internally acknowledges his thoughtfulness. Even though she tries to play it cool, tells him he needs underwear.
And agrees to buy him some, which is kind of a softening, isn't it? A practical intimacy, almost.
It seems like it. Then Thawne gets sick, maybe from the stress and lack of sleep. She's exhausted.
And the boy steps up, big time. He's really concerned.
Insists she rest. He tells the school she's sick, goes out to get traditional fever-reducing leaves, prepares a steam bath for her.
That must have been awkward for her, the intimacy of a steam bath.
She hesitates, yeah. But he handles it very considerately, respectfully. The narrative says this is a turning point. She sees how caring he truly is. She even manages a small smile.
A genuine one, it sounds like.
Seems so. And afterwards, he's gentle, takes care of her. But he's also smart, reminds her they need to be careful about appearances outside the house. Maintain that professional image.
Wow. That shows surprising awareness from him.
It really does. And Tho agrees. They become more cautious in public.
Okay, so there's care, but also this awareness of the precariousness of their situation. Then there's that scene on the couch.
Right. They fall asleep watching TV or something. Tho wakes up later, thirsty.
And as she tries to get water, he immediately wakes up, concerned, gently scolds her for not asking him. Like he's the caretaker now.
He absolutely takes on that role, gets her water, medicine, without her even asking.
And this makes Thawne reflect, doesn't it? On her past loneliness and how much she's actually started relying on his care.
Yeah, maybe too much. She recognizes he's maturing, and she needs to be more careful. Is she sending the wrong signals, even just by accepting his help?
She starts questioning if she's become too dependent, giving him the wrong idea.
Exactly. There's this growing feeling that she needs to create some distance, but she doesn't want to hurt him, especially after he's been so kind.
So the story leaves her there,
Mhm.
essentially. He's still caring for her the next morning, but she knows she needs space to figure out, well, everything.
Yeah, it's a real cliffhanger in terms of their relationship.
Oh, yeah.
We've followed this incredibly tangled path, haven't we?
Definitely. From what seemed like a simple, maybe inappropriate crush to this deeply complicated situation.
Full of genuine affection, yes, but also huge societal pressures.
Hmm.
Thou's intense internal conflicts. It's really messy.
And those lines, caregiver, friend, potential object of affection, surrogate mother figure, they're just incredibly blurred.
You feel Thou's struggle. Balancing her desires, her responsibilities as a teacher, the fear of what people might think, and her genuine care for this boy.
And it ends with so much unresolved. You don't know where it's going. His feelings seem to be growing stronger, more focused, maybe.
And Thou, she's clearly bonded with him, deeply, but she's also deeply conflicted and aware of the potential dangers.
It really makes you think, doesn't it,
Uh,
about these situations where strong emotional bonds form across big age gaps or unusual circumstances.
yeah, the responsibilities involved, the ethical tightrope. How do power dynamics shift, maybe without anyone even realizing it at first?
And what does it really mean to care for someone when your own needs, desires, and what society expects are all pulling in different directions? It's a lot to unpack.
Definitely leaves you thinking. A really compelling narrative, even with all its complexities and ambiguities.
Absolutely. Thanks for exploring that with us today.